You don't really know America until you know its most incredible facts. So, we've scoured the history books, crisscrossed the country, searched the internet to bring you the untold stories about this great country of ours. From geological wonders, through epic events from history, and stories you couldn't imagine. Get ready, because we are counting down the 51 most amazing facts about America. Let's get to the countdown. We start with amazing fact number 51. What state in the United States is the closest to Africa? Nope, it's not Florida, it's Maine.
If you look at a map of the United States, you'll notice that Maine is really far to the east compared to Florida, because you would think Florida would be closest to Africa, but it's not.
It's a surprise to most people because we think of Africa typically being sub-Saharan, being below the equator. Florida, people usually think of as being the closest state because it's the furthest south.
And that tells you why you can't rely on these flat maps. That's why you gotta have a globe.
And while we are on the subject of Maine, here is a bonus fact about the Pine Tree State.
Maine is the only state in the United States that borders just one other state, and that's New Hampshire.
For our next fact on the countdown, we take you to the middle of the United States for amazing fact number 50. Diamonds in Arkansas. Who would believe it?
There's only one active diamond mine in the United States. It's near a town called Murfreesboro in Arkansas, and for, I think, a couple of bucks, you can go in there and search for as many diamonds as you can find, and you can take them with you.
I wish I would have known this, because before I got engaged, I would have gone out there so my wife doesn't have to walk around with a cubic zirconium. You get to keep the diamonds in Arkansas.
There have been 32,000 diamonds found in the last couple of decades.
From white diamonds to black gold, we reveal the story behind our amazing fact number 49, making a right on red.
In 1973, the Yom Kippur War took place, and the United States supported Israel. At that point, OPEC got very upset, and they started to embargo oil. That made the price of oil skyrocket.
And the government worried very much about how to keep the economy going with energy prices so high. And they realized that if instead of waiting at every single red light, you could turn right on red, you could do so safely, you could save a little bit of fuel. It would be a fairly minor effect, but every little bit counted. Boom, you've got the right on red bar. People had never thought about fuel efficiency. If you look at the car models that are introduced in the 60s, every year, the top horsepower gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And all of a sudden, Japanese cars become very popular. You have a whole new mentality. Small is beautiful.
As our countdown continues, we ask, what do Al Capone and FDR have in common? They both needed a safe ride. Our amazing fact number 48, FDR commandeers Al Capone's car.
Well, after the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor in 1941, it became clear that extraordinary measures needed to be put in place to protect our president. And Franklin Roosevelt was going to go to Congress to announce our reaction to the attack at Pearl Harbor. How was he going to get to Congress? Well, of course, by car. Was it an armored car? No. They had impounded Al Capone's car. Al Capone had spent money on an armored car. Mr. President, do you mind using Al Capone's car? FDR said, oh, not at all. I'm sure he won't mind.
From World War II era Washington, D.C., we take you down south in the early 1800s for our amazing fact number 47. Mosquitoes help sell Louisiana.
If you go to school, they will tell you that Napoleon sold the Louisiana Territory to help finance his wars in Europe, and that's true, but that doesn't explain why it had public support in France. And the reason is a tiny little insect. The French hated mosquitoes, and their traders and merchants were bringing mosquitoes back on their ships from New Orleans. Even today, if you visit France, all the little villages, the houses are surrounded with geraniums to keep the mosquitoes out. So that little insect led to the greatest real estate deal of all time.
We're bringing you 51 amazing facts about America. The good, the bad, and the sometimes yucky. Our amazing fact number 46, Americans once loved oyster ice cream.
Oysters were very popular in the United States in the early 1700s all the way through. Even today, it was a fad flavor. The popular flavors were vanilla, strawberry, raspberry, and classics.
Oyster ice cream. It started in 1824, and thankfully it came to an end.
Here's a bonus fact about ice cream.
One of the progenitors of ice cream in America was Dolly Madison, James Madison's wife, and she helped popularize ice cream by serving it at his inaugural dinner. And oyster was one of the favorites, one of her favorites.
The recipe for this peculiar sweet treat appeared in the Virginia Housewife Cookbook as early as 1824. Our countdown now brings you to a rarely found object. Amazing fact number 45. 1,671 meteorites have been found in the United States.
It's pretty hard to find a meteorite if you're looking through an environment that has lots of undergrowth, shrubbery, trees, or alternatively, if it's very barren and rocky, spotting that strange space rock amidst all the other normal rocks is a tricky undertaking. So 1,671 in 206 years is not a bad score.
Continuing our countdown and returning to New England with our next amazing fact, number 44. A deadly molasses tidal wave in Boston.
When most people think about molasses, they don't think deadly. They think sweet and maybe kind of sluggish and slow. But in the olden days, they used to store molasses in these giant tanks. And one day, a tank gave way and released a flood of molasses onto the streets, and it just swept over the town, and it was actually incredibly deadly.
The catastrophe left a sticky trail of collateral damage in its wake, killing 11 people. We leave the sticky disaster in Boston and take you to the Southwest for amazing fact number 43. Mail by mules.
So there's this place at the Grand Canyon, at the bottom of the Grand Canyon, where a mule still delivers mail. I mean, if you're living at the bottom of the Grand Canyon, what are you possibly waiting for in the mail?
Hiking down there would take an extremely long time. That would be the mail carrier's only route if he was to do that, and it would probably take him a couple of days. Helicopter's way too expensive. The only way to do it really is on 4 legs instead of 2.
Here's a fact you probably never thought about. Our amazing fact number 42. The United States has no official language.
The Founding Fathers did not pass legislation nor promote a piece in the Constitution that stipulated that English or any other language was the official language of the United States.
This is a melting pot of different cultures, people from all over the world, and they come here for freedom and the American dream, and they have their own languages, and it's neat that we don't have an official one.
America is a melting pot. People come and go, cultures change, and even animals move on. Which takes us to our amazing fact number 41. No grizzly bears in California, except on the state flag.
California had grizzly bears, and they were big. 800 pounds is the average size of a grizzly bear. And California liked maybe that macho image, and it's on their flag. But no grizzly bear has been seen in California since 1922.
The object at the center of our next fact hasn't been seen in quite a long time either, and that's not a good thing. Amazing fact number 40, an unexploded H-bomb lies missing off the coast of Georgia.
In 1958, a B-47 bomber is on a training mission carrying an H-bomb. Why is a training mission involving an H-bomb? I'm not sure. But the plane collides with another plane, and the H-bomb winds up in the ocean. And the government can't find the H-bomb.
In 2001, further search and recovery efforts were made.
When George W. Bush became president, he decided to really go after it, and we had all kinds of modern and advanced technology, submarines that could go to unusual depths. They still couldn't find it. It's still there.
The military says, don't worry. The bomb came apart in the process. It can explode. But you have to remember, plutonium, uranium, these are some of the most toxic substances known to man, and we don't know where it is. And you have to wonder, is this a good thing? Do you sleep well at night knowing that this big nuclear core is lost? It's missing. Someday somebody will find it, hopefully somebody who's a good guy.
We've counted down from number 51 through number 40 amazing facts about America. We've gone from the bottom of the Grand Canyon to the tip of Maine and back again. When we return, some shocking facts.
It's kind of a scary statistic.
And stay tuned as we count down to our number 1 amazing fact. Here's a hint. What do the Declaration of Independence, the Magna Carta, and opium have in common? All will be revealed when 51 Amazing Facts About America returns. We are counting down 51 amazing facts about America. We've searched the trivia books, the history books, and even the e-books to bring you the strangest, the silliest, and the scariest facts about America. Let's get back to our countdown. Amazing fact number 39. Every tweet sent by Americans is recorded by the Library of Congress. Hashtag who knew?
The Library of Congress is ahead of the game and decided to start collecting a couple of years ago, working with Twitter, collecting at least tweets. Because tweets give you a sense of what matters, what people are responding to, and how people are responding to the events that shape our days.
Thinking about what if Abraham Lincoln had a Twitter account and it was all kept in the Library of Congress? How wonderful would it be to have access to those primary sources?
Americans should be careful about what they tweet today because in 100 or 200 years, historians will be going back through those tweets to write their histories of America.
And they'll have plenty of material to work with. Today, Twitter has over 230 million users and counting. There are technical wonders, and there are terrifying wonders, like our amazing fact number 38. The largest volcano in the United States is Yellowstone National Park.
Well, anybody who's been through Yellowstone and seen those geysers or touched their finger in one of those geysers and see all this angry, bubbling earth knows that there's something under there. And now scientists say there's a lot under there.
Around 2012, when everyone was talking about the Mayan prophecies, one of the big things people talked about is, what if Yellowstone's going to go up? Maybe that's the prophecy.
When Yellowstone erupts, and it's a when, not an if, it's going to be front page news. We're talking about a major cataclysmic event that could affect the climate around the world, possibly for years to come. This is a big deal.
America's supervolcano is a frightening fact on our countdown. But here's one even scarier. Amazing fact number 37. Cocaine on dollar bills.
So 90% of all U.S. paper money contains traces of cocaine. That's a pretty stunning number. I mean, it suggests that people are furiously snorting cocaine all the time, primarily using rolled up money as their straw of choice.
But what's really startling is in Washington, D.C., that figure jumps to 95%.
There's a sobering thought. You give your kid $2 to buy an ice cream cone, and he's got cocaine all over his hands. It's kind of a scary statistic.
Our countdown now takes you to a street paved with gold. Amazing fact number 36. Colorado's $1 Million Mile.
Colorado, Highway 550, it was built out of gravel that was discarded from a gold mine nearby. So literally, there are traces of gold in this highway.
I don't think they should let that information get out because you might be driving one day and encounter a whole lot of potholes.
You won't need gold, but a whole lot of green if you'd like to own one rare and pricey piece of Americana. Our amazing fact number 35. Button Gwinnett's signature.
Button Gwinnett was a delegate to the Continental Congress from Georgia, and he was upset that he wasn't promoted as quickly as he would have liked to have been in the Army, and so he got into a duel with someone who outranked him, and he was killed in 1777, shortly after signing the Declaration of Independence.
And today, his signature is worth like $750,000. You think about the Declaration, you have Thomas Jefferson and John Adams and John Hancock. However, it's Gwinnett's signature that is so valuable because he died in a duel the year after the Declaration of Independence was signed.
It goes to show that being the most famous person might not make you the most valuable when it comes to collectors.
From a minor historical figure to an often overlooked president, in our countdown of 51 amazing facts about America, we arrive at fact number 34, the first telephone in the White House.
President Hayes had the first phone installed in the White House. It had only recently been invented. He didn't have too much use for it, though, because there were only about 190 other phones that he could call in Washington, D.C. His number, by the way, was 1.
Rutherford Burchard Hayes brought to the White House 2 inventions that hadn't been there before. One was the telephone, and the second one was the typewriter. And I know you're wondering, what is a typewriter?
Our search for amazing facts takes you back to New England, to the state of Connecticut. For fact number 33, Connecticut's important firsts.
First newspaper, first submarine, first helicopter, first dictionary, first cotton gin, first sewing machine, first collapsible toothpaste tube. You can just imagine how much trouble people had when toothpaste tubes would not collapse. How do you get the toothpaste out? Call somebody from Connecticut. they'll figure it out.
The very first hamburger served in America was served at Louis' Lunch in New Haven. And don't ask for ketchup or mustard. Since 1900, they've been serving it with cheese and onion and tomato.
Yeah, the first color TV, the first hamburger, probably the first clogged artery. The most famous first that they had in Connecticut was the Fundamental Orders of Connecticut. Connecticut is known as the Constitution State if you look at their license plate, and that's because the earliest constitution was the Fundamental Orders of Connecticut.
America is a young country, full of wonder and surprises. But our countdown digs around for the older side of America. Amazing fact number 32. 8,000-year-old bones found in Florida.
We Americans always feel a little bit inferior because we don't have old castles and old buildings, but we have old bones, and they were found in Florida, and they date 2,000 years before the pyramids.
From ancient times and Florida bogs, we take you to our 49th state, Alaska, for amazing fact number 31. More Alaskans walk to work than the rest of the United States.
Alaska, funny enough, has a percentage of 4.3% of the population that actually walks to work, which is 3 times the national average, which is extremely surprising because I think of New York, San Francisco, these big cities having huge populations that walk to work because the weather isn't that bad and work is usually very close to home.
If you're not walking to work in Alaska, you're probably flying because it's the only other way to get somewhere.
No matter how you get to work, at some point your job probably required asking the question, do you want fries with that? Our amazing fact number 30. 1 in 8 Americans have worked at McDonald's.
McDonald's makes 75 hamburgers a second. They are the 90th largest economy in the world. This company all by itself.
A fact that isn't on the countdown, but is justifiably amazing. If McDonald's turned you down, have you considered becoming a Chief Justice of the Supreme Court? You don't need a law degree or any legal training.
Until the late 19th century, there weren't any law schools in the United States. Formal legal training meant apprenticing for a lawyer. So when the Supreme Court was established as part of our Constitution, people weren't thinking about formal law schools. And therefore, they weren't going to say that you needed to have a degree that didn't exist to be the Justice of the Supreme Court. And ever since then, nobody's seen any reason to amend the Constitution to make that a stipulation.
We've been counting down 51 amazing facts about America as we march on toward our number 1 fact with more surprising, shocking, and revealing facts on our countdown. Coming up, which president served as a public executioner?
He pulled the lever himself.
And what is Congress reading these days?
The U.S. Post Office tried to stop it.
Find out when 51 amazing facts about America returns. We are counting down 51 amazing facts about America, from the peculiar to the scientific to the truly trivial. Here's a tidbit you can impress your friends with. Our amazing fact number 29, Hustler magazine in Congress.
Larry Flynt, the founder of Hustler magazine, has been sending copies of Hustler to every member of American Congress since 1983 to make a statement about First Amendment rights. In his words, Moses freed the Jews, Lincoln freed the slaves, I just wanted to free all the neurotics.
The U.S. Post Office tried to stop it, and it was determined that Hustler magazine had the right to petition government.
But what do they do with all those copies?
From the halls of Congress, we take you back to Maine for our amazing fact number 28, a desert in Maine.
It doesn't have to be hot for there to be a desert. In fact, the world's biggest desert is not the Sahara Desert, it's Antarctica. So the fact that it rains in Maine and it's not that hot doesn't surprise me too much that there's a desert there, because sometimes a man-made desert can occur from over-farming.
So a family of farmers in Maine took really bad care of their land. And what happened is it started to erode. Instead of, planting some shrubbery to try to preserve it, they just kept on doing their bad habits. The erosion got worse. Their entire farm was a catastrophe. They eroded all their topsoil away, and nothing was left but 40 acres of sand, which is a bad thing unless you're an entrepreneur who has enough sense to recognize that this environmental catastrophe could be marketed to tourists as the Great Desert of Maine.
We are counting down 51 amazing facts about America. Next on our list is a shocking fact about a U.S. president. Number 27, Cleveland was a hangman.
As a young man, Grover Cleveland was a county sheriff. Under his predecessors, the deputy sheriff used to perform the executions. However, Cleveland was a stickler for a law which said it was the sheriff's duty to perform executions, so he pulled the lever himself.
Now, here are 2 bonus facts about Grover Cleveland that didn't make our countdown, but we still want to share.
In the 19th century, a president named Grover Cleveland was both our 22nd president and our 24th president because he lost in between to Benjamin Harrison. But then he won it back, so he got a new number. So far, he's the only one to have that kind of distinction.
And our second bonus fact, married in the White House.
Grover Cleveland, his best friend died, and he had his daughter raised by Grover Cleveland. And when she turned 21, he married her in the White House. He was the only president to be married in the White House.
We now bring you an unsettling fact about our 16th president, Abraham Lincoln. Amazing fact number 26. Thieves tried to steal Lincoln's remains.
On the night of the presidential election of 1876, counterfeiters from Chicago broke into Lincoln's tomb in Springfield, Illinois, hoping to kidnap his body and hold it as ransom so that they could get one of their leaders out of jail. The counterfeiters were foiled by a mole from within, and Lincoln's body was then moved to a deeper part of the tomb in Springfield. It was moved around several times after that, year to year.
And there became great controversy because it had been moved so many times. There were many who were speculating that it wasn't really his body. And finally, it became such a great conspiracy that his son, Robert Todd Lincoln, who was one of the wealthiest men in America at the time, demanded that the body be exhumed. And they took another look and said, yes, it's Lincoln. And this time, they buried it under a lot of cement, very deep.
We are counting down 51 amazing facts about America, and Alaska has its fair share. Number 25. Alaska is the most western, northern, and eastern state of the Union.
You know, when you look at a map in grade school and they put Alaska and Hawaii next to each other, you're like, oh, they're both near Mexico. No, that's not true. Alaska's all the way up top, all the way to the west. But also, technically speaking, it's also in the far east of the other hemisphere.
Another fact about Alaska that didn't make the countdown but deserves a mention, a surprising number of people disappear there.
Surprisingly, 5 out of every 1,000 people in Alaska go missing.
We have facts about people, about animals, about cars, and gems. But here's one about the weather. Shocking fact number 24. Lightning strikes the U.S. 25 million times per year.
For those of you who play golf, you know that if you see thunderclouds, stop playing golf. And you have to stop playing golf because you should know, that your golf club is an excellent lightning rod. So it shouldn't surprise you then to know that lightning strikes happen a lot in our country.
From the weather in America, we return to our amazing presidents. Fact number 23. Thomas Jefferson serves the first French fries.
In 1802, Thomas Jefferson introduced French fried potatoes into the White House menu.
They weren't called French fries. What they were called was potatoes made in the French way, or à la française.
Moving on with our countdown, we show you can tell a lot about a president by how he shaves. Amazing fact number 22. Presidential facial hair.
For a long time, you could look formal and be presidential and have a handlebar mustache. President Taft had a handlebar mustache. You could be presidential, you could look commanding, and you can have a beard. Ulysses S. Grant, Abraham Lincoln, Rutherford B. Hayes, James Garfield, Benjamin Harrison, all of them had beards. Times change, male fashion changes, and now you don't run for office with a beard, but who knows?
Next on our countdown is amazing fact number 21. FDR's family tree. Franklin Delano Roosevelt was a relative of William Taft, Theodore Roosevelt, Benjamin Harrison, Ulysses Grant, Zachary Taylor, William Henry Harrison, Martin Van Buren, John Quincy Adams, James Madison, and John Adams. There seems to be no relation between FDR and 10th President John Tyler or his grandsons. But if you want to double check, you could just ask them. Amazing fact number 20, our 10th president's grandchildren are alive and well.
A president you've never heard of has grandchildren who are still alive that you've never heard of. Well, that doesn't sound very interesting, except the president in question was John Tyler, and he was born in the 18th century. He was president before the Civil War, and he has grandchildren who are alive today.
Harrison Tyler is still alive. His father was 75 years old when Harrison was born, and that guy's father was John Tyler, who is 63 years old when that guy was born. So, John Tyler had 15 kids among 2 different wives. All of this decades before Viagra.
We are now deep in our countdown of 51 amazing facts about America, but there's much more to come. We'll take you to Plymouth Rock for some drinks.
They couldn't trust it. They needed beer.
And our number 1 fact isn't far away. Here's another hint. Amazing fact number 1 is locked up tight in a state with a K. We'll take you there when 51 Amazing Facts About America returns. We are counting down 51 amazing facts about America. We've taken you from deserts in Maine to the coast of Alaska, from supervolcanoes to unending lightning storms, revealing the stories behind the facts. Before we get back to our countdown, here's a bonus fact about presidents and baseball. Needing a break from his strict confines of a baseball stadium seat, President Taft inadvertently created a tradition that people appreciate today.
Legend has it that William Howard Taft invented the 7th inning stretch. As the legend goes, he went down to Griffith Stadium to watch a Washington Senators game, and Taft, because he was huge, he got a little tired by the 7th inning, so he stood up. Then the Secret Service stands up. Then everybody else is like, well, the president's standing, I should stand too. And everybody stands up. Little peanuts and a little Cracker Jacks later, and you have yourself the 7th inning stretch.
Now, back to our countdown with amazing fact number 19. The Pilgrims ran out of beer.
The Mayflower was supposed to go to Virginia. However, it hit rough seas and went to Massachusetts. At that point, they realized that they were low on provisions.
And we talk about our water today, but water was pretty contaminated in those days, and they couldn't trust it. They needed beer.
We are staying in Massachusetts, for our next amazing fact number 18 is in Webster, Massachusetts.
The longest place name in the United States is Lake Chargagamog, Manchagagog, Chabanagungumog, otherwise known as Lake Webster. So the official translation is fishing place at the boundaries. The editor of the local Webster newspaper rather poetically translated it as, I fish on my side, you fish on your side, nobody fish in the middle.
As big as its name is, with 45 letters, Webster Lake has nothing on Alaska. Amazing fact number 17, Alaska has the longest coastline.
If you take the state of Alaska and put it inside a map of the United States, you'll see that both tails will touch the east and west coast. Alaska is enormous.
Alaska was officially recognized as a state in 1959, along with Hawaii, which is much smaller. But our amazing fact number 16, Hawaii keeps getting bigger.
The Big Island of Hawaii is one of the most volcanically active places on the Earth, and it's a special kind of volcanism where the lava doesn't just come exploding out of the ground, it seeps out year after year. Acre after acre gets added to the Big Island.
From natural wonders, we take you to something you will really wonder about. Amazing fact number 15. Yes, Napoleon's penis is in New Jersey.
So when Napoleon died on the island of St. Helena, his doctor, during the autopsy, removed his penis as a souvenir, gave it to a priest who smuggled it off the island, ended up in Paris, drifted over to the United States, and was bought at auction by a urologist in New Jersey. John Latimer is his name. And he kept it in a little presentation case, and he put it under his bed for 30 years. He died a few years ago, and his daughter, Evan, now has it. And today, Napoleon's penis is still in New Jersey.
Our countdown remains in New Jersey for our next amazing fact number 14. Movies were invented in the town of West Orange.
Movies were invented in New Jersey the same reason why Menlo Park had a lot of light bulbs. That's the headquarters of Thomas Edison. So Edison had a kinetograph, which could record moving images, and then you could watch it on a kinetoscope. There's where movies were invented.
The next amazing fact on our countdown might have stopped Edison from getting any patents at all. Fact number 13. Patent office closes in 1899?
The patent office at the end of the 19th century was thinking of closing down. Why? Because they assumed that was it. There were not going to be any more inventions. That's right, 100 years before Apple gives us all kinds of iThings, the Patent Office thought there weren't going to be any more inventions.
1899, really? Do they think that that's it for humankind? That's all as far as we're going to go?
We are counting down 51 amazing facts about America. And now we expose some surprising facts about two of America's most influential presidents. Amazing fact number 12, George Washington's liquor bill.
For a very long time, presidents are responsible for their own bar bills. And that goes right back to George Washington. George Washington had to pay for his own drink, his own alcohol. And he spent 7% of his salary on alcohol.
So he would have made as an annual salary as President of the United States about $25,000 a year. They didn't drink water back then because it wasn't safe. It had a lot of bacteria in it. They were drinking alcohol. And also, he's the President of the United States, so he's hosting a lot of people at his house.
Our next amazing fact concerns our 16th president. Fact number 11, Abraham Lincoln was a wrestler.
Abraham Lincoln was a very strong man. He stood 6'4", and he was known for wielding an axe. When Lincoln moved to New Salem, Illinois in 1831, he got into a wrestling match with a man named Jack Armstrong, who was the head of a local gang known as the Clary's Grove Boys. Lincoln was about to throw Jack Armstrong in this wrestling match when the Clary's Grove Boys all came around and threatened to jump on Lincoln. Lincoln said that he would fight all of them as long as it was one at a time. This wrestling match was very important for Abraham Lincoln's political career. It earned him the respect of his neighbors in New Salem and helped launch his career in politics. There's a very real chance that we wouldn't have a President Abraham Lincoln today if it wasn't for that wrestling match in 1831.
Honest Abe's grappling skills earned him an outstanding American honor at the National Wrestling Hall of Fame. Now a fact that deserves an honor all its own. Lincoln wasn't the only wrestler in his family.
His mother was a wrestler. Nancy Hanks was famous because she could fight women and men, and in the little village they would succor the men who passed through and say, "I'll bet one of our women could out-wrestle you." And they'd all put their bets down, and Nancy Hanks almost always won.
Here's a bonus fact about presidents and their moms.
It's a surprise to many historians to learn that most American presidents are mama's boys. In fact, many of them are actually named after their mother. Everybody knows that John Fitzgerald Kennedy is named after Rose Fitzgerald. But Richard Milhous Nixon is named after his mother, Hannah Milhous. And Ronald Wilson Reagan is named after his mother, Nellie Wilson. And Lyndon Baines Johnson is named after his mother, Rebecca Baines. And Franklin Delano Roosevelt is named after his mother, Sarah Delano. And Woodrow Wilson is named after his mother, Janet Woodrow. Rutherford B. Hayes, he's named after his mother, Sophia Birchard, Rutherford Birchard Hayes. Even George Herbert Walker Bush was named after his uncle Herbert and his mother, Dorothy Walker. So it's very interesting. The hand that rocks the cradle rules the world.
We are counting down 51 amazing facts about America, with some bonus facts squeezed in just for fun. We've counted down number 51 through number 11, and we are charging on towards number 1. But before we get there, we have something to say about our first president.
There were 6 other presidents before George Washington.
And the presidential curse of the 0 year.
But he survived, and that's what broke the curse.
All this and more when 51 Amazing Facts About America returns. Welcome back to 51 Amazing Facts About America. We are down to our final 10 amazing facts. We will take a close look at presidents, how they got there, and how they left. But first, a quick but amazing fact about Maine. Fact number 10. Maine is the only state name with only 1 syllable.
Yeah, Maine actually used to have 4 syllables in its name because it was part of Massachusetts until 1820 with the Missouri Compromise.
Our countdown continues with a question. Amazing fact number 9. Who was the first president of the United States?
John Hanson was the first president of the United States under the Articles of Confederation. And actually, there were 6 other presidents before George Washington.
John Hanson is not considered by the majority of historians as the first president of the United States because he was elected president under the Articles of Confederation for the Continental Congress, which was the form of government that we had during the Revolutionary War. But the Constitution was what created the Electoral College, and President Washington Washington was the first president to be elected under the government we have today.
Here's a fact that makes you wonder if Edison really got it right. Amazing fact number 8. The world's oldest light bulb still shines.
The Centennial bulb, as it's known, in Livermore, California, was switched on in 1901, and it burns to this very day. Not to besmirch Thomas Edison's reputation, but this bulb was made by his competitor, a man named Adolphe Chalet, and if we were truly energy efficient, we would be using light bulbs like this.
That light bulb's been on for like 100 years. It's like the Larry King of light bulbs. I went online to look at it, and they actually have bulb cam. So I sat there for 2-3 hours, hoping that it would go out. It didn't.
Our countdown continues with a long speech and a short presidency. Amazing fact number 7. President William Henry Harrison died of a cold he caught at his own inauguration.
William Henry Harrison was our oldest president at that point to be elected. He also wrote the longest inaugural speech ever given by a president. In that period, presidents were inaugurated in March, not January, but even so, it was cold and rainy, and he went out and wasn't properly covered up. He gave the speech, promptly contracted pneumonia, and died a month later.
We have a bonus fact that will make you stop and think. Harrison's death started the notorious curse of presidents elected in a year ending in 0, dying in office.
Starting with Harrison in 1820, 1840 is Zachary Taylor, 1860 Abraham Lincoln, 1880 is James Garfield, 1900 is William McKinley, 1920 Warren G. Harding, 1940 FDR, 1960 JFK, and then in 1980 Ronald Reagan was shot, but he survived, and that's what broke the curse.
Our countdown of 51 amazing facts about America remains with presidential deaths. Fact number 6, Thomas Jefferson and John Adams died on the same day.
John Adams and Thomas Jefferson died on July 4th, 1826, the 50th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. It was an incredible moment in American history. Thomas Jefferson actually died first, and when Adams died a few hours later, he said, "Thomas Jefferson survives." Adams was wrong in that moment because Jefferson had already died.
Our countdown rolls on with a leader from a distant land who is a U.S. citizen. Amazing fact number 5. The current heir to the Ottoman Empire lives in New York.
It's amazing. A lot of people lose track of these great families, royal families.
The 90-year-old Bayezid Osman is a veteran of the U.S. Army and heir to the Ottoman Empire.
He replaced the guy who died in 2009, who also lived in New York, in a 4-story walk-up in Manhattan with his wife and 12 dogs.
Our next fact is strangely unbelievable. Amazing fact number 4, Ulysses S. Grant was afraid of blood.
I find this very ironic. One of the most famous nicknames of Ulysses S. Grant was Grant the Butcher. That's because his military tactics led to a lot of casualties. So the fact that he's scared of blood is almost unbelievable.
Rare steak nauseated him, and he was known to cook meat until it was charred. We have counted down to our final 3 amazing facts about America. We have traveled north and south, from the coast of Alaska to the bogs of Florida, to bring you astonishing, shocking, and surprising facts about the people, places, and things that make up our country. Coming up, the perfect spud.
And the Idaho potato is born.
And the perfect lockup.
It also holds a massive store of opium.
When 51 amazing facts about America continues. We have been counting down 51 amazing facts about America, and we are almost at the end. We pick up our countdown with amazing fact number 3. The Idaho potato is from Massachusetts.
So this horticulturalist, he's trying to come up with the right strain of potato, and he's in New England, and he figures it out, he thinks, and then he moves it out to Colorado and to California. It's doing okay, but then he brings it to Idaho. And there's some combination there with the volcanic soil, sunny days, cool nights, and the Idaho potato is born.
Here's a bonus fact about the man behind the Idaho potato. Luther Burbank, the man responsible for giving Idaho its famous celebrated starch, went on to sell the rights to the russet for $150, which he used to move to California, the site of the city that today bears his name. And now, the number 2 amazing fact on our countdown. Einstein's brain was stolen.
Thomas Stoltz Harvey was conducting the autopsy of Einstein and claims that he had permission to take the brain. So he starts cutting it up into samples, puts them in mason jars, and sends them off to scientists.
Both halves of Einstein's brain sat in jars for some 30 years. Though Einstein's relatives weren't thrilled, they eventually allowed his brain to be studied. While Einstein's mind was studied, his eyeballs remained in a jar in a safety deposit box in New Jersey, safe and sound. We've counted them down, from the unbelievable to the incredible to the flat-out stupefying. And we've reached our number 1 amazing fact about America. Opium in Fort Knox.
Fort Knox wasn't around during the War of 1812, but it was around during World War II. So our government used it to put all kinds of very valuable things, lest somebody attempt to invade our country. And the Fort Knox is situated so you'd have to come very far inside continental United States to get to it.
So everyone knows that Fort Knox holds the nation's gold supply. What most people don't know is that it also holds a massive store of opium. Opium has been used for centuries as a painkiller. And so during the Cold War, the government was concerned that in the event of an emergency, they wouldn't have enough supply of this important precursor of the morphine. Once it was there, the emergency didn't happen, it's still there. During World War II, the British sent over the Crown Jewels and the Magna Carta for safekeeping. So Fort Knox is the ultimate repository of something that you need to keep safe, something you don't want to go missing. And so gold, opium, Crown Jewels of England, Magna Carta, you name it. If it's got to stay where you put it in Fort Knox.
Fort Knox is legendary, but people say that there's nothing in Fort Knox, and it's all in our minds. There's no gold there, there's no opium, there's nothing there at all. In 1974, they opened up Fort Knox for television cameras. The press goes in, they look around, they see a little bit of gold, and they leave. You would think that would make people think that Fort Knox is secure, but then there are conspiracy theorists who say, well, we didn't see all the gold, we didn't see all of the opium. Now, Fort Knox is the most secure place in the United States, probably, that we know about. And because of that, during World War II, the Declaration of Independence was brought there, the Constitution. At some point, also, you have a Magna Carta and our supplies of opium. So you can say that the Declaration of Independence was kind of marinating in narcotics for a while.
We've counted down 51 amazing facts about America, from Maine to the Grand Canyon, from Alaska to Florida, and all points in between. The United States, its people, and its stories can be inspiring, tragic, revolutionary, and sometimes flat out weird. But that's what makes America like no other country in the world. And that's a fact.